Hello, welcome back to Oakleigh Watches. I've got an interesting video for you today if you're a fan of the sports Rolex, particularly the sports Rolex divers. Rolex started their dive collection with the Submariner, as we probably all know, in 1950s, and then at the end of the 1960s they came up with a new design which is like Submariner Plus, and they called it the Sea-Dweller. The key thing about this Sea-Dweller was that it was created with the assistance of the dive company Comex, and it was designed to be a professional diving tool. Bear in mind, these are the days before the days of dive computers and that kind of thing, so it's a professional diving tool and designed to go to a much deeper depth than the Submariner was. There have been 4 broad models of Sea-Dweller since it was first invented in 1969. There was the 1665 Sea-Dweller that took us really through to the late 1980s with a couple of minor variations, differences in dials, that kind of thing. From the late 1980s onwards, there was the pre-ceramic Sea-Dweller, which is the 16600. Then there was the first ceramic, the double 16600, and then the anniversary, the 126600. On the table today, we have all 3 of the modern Rolex Sea-Dweller models. We have a 16600. This is the longest standing Sea-Dweller model ever. It was made from the late 1980s to the mid 2010s, so 25-30 years or so. That was superseded by this, which is the double 16600. This is the first ceramic Sea-Dweller, made for just over 2 years at the end of the 2010s. And then this, which is the anniversary Sea-Dweller, sometimes called the SD43, which is the one that was made after that. Just going to show you these 3 pieces and show you the difference between them, some of the key differences between them. Starting off with the 16600, this is the pre-ceramic Rolex Sea-Dweller. So it has a steel bezel with an aluminium bezel insert on there. It is a 40mm watch and has the same proportions as the equivalent Submariner in all respects, other than the thickness of the case and the height of the bezel from the case. In order to go down to depths of 4,000 meters, the glass in a Sea-Dweller has to be really thick, and they achieve that, having that glass in there that thick, by having a bezel with a bevel underneath it. So the bezel is a lot thicker than a Submariner bezel. The key features of the original Sea-Dweller are retained in this watch, which is to say it's 40mm, so the same proportion as the Submariner, and it has the same shape case and the same style bracelet as the Submariner. It has a date, but it doesn't have a cyclops. The reason that the Sea-Dweller had no cyclops is that the magnifying element of the cyclops itself was a separate piece of glass from the crystal itself, and it was glued on. Rolex found it impossible to find a glue that was strong enough to hold those 2 pieces of glass together at 4,000 meters, so they just leave the cyclops off. So these, for many, are the classic proportions of a Sea-Dweller. The same size as a Submariner, but a bit thicker, no cyclops, and of course the helium release valve on the side of there to allow it to go down to the depths that it needs to go to. This is the Rolex 11600 sometimes called the SD4000. It's the first ceramic bezeled Rolex Sea-Dweller. It is a much bigger, chunkier watch than its predecessor. It's still 40mm, but bear in mind that 40mm is only one of the measurements on a watch. The lugs themselves on this watch are almost 50% wider than that on its predecessor. So if you look at the two of them side by side, despite being both 40mm, what you'll see is that the later ceramic version, the SD4000, looks and wears quite a lot bigger. It's also on a much more engineered bracelet with a better clasp, better links, and the bezel, of course, the insert itself is ceramic, so it won't corrode, it's very difficult to damage, it's a much harder wearing kind of thing. Interestingly, proportionally it's the same as its predecessor in that it's basically the same as the Submariner date of the day. It's thicker, it has the helium release valve on the side, and there's no cyclops above the date for the same reasons. They still hadn't managed to get a glue that would hold those two pieces of glass together. That was one of the worst selling Rolex sports watches of all time. Between 2015 and 2017, when they made those watches, very few of them were sold, relatively few of them were sold. The authorised dealers just couldn't get rid of them. They say these watches were made from 2015 to 2017, but they're all random serial number, so you can't actually tell when they were made. I would be amazed if any were made in 2017. I think in 2017 they were still selling off the ones they made in 2016 that they hadn't yet managed to sell. So why were they so unpopular? I think the reason possibly is because it was just a little bit too big at a time when people were not yet used to the new styling of the Submariner with the ceramic bezel and the wider lugs. Maybe this watch was just a step too far and just a bit big, and it didn't sell. So they discontinued it after just 2 and a bit years. Very interestingly, in 2019, to celebrate the anniversary of the original Sea-Dweller being invented in 1969, Rolex released the anniversary Sea-Dweller, sometimes called the SD43. Now, this carries features of the original Sea-Dweller, but it's also quite a departure from the Sea-Dweller theme. For a start, the SD43 relates to the case size. It's 43mm. At the time when this watch came out, the Submariner was 40mm. It's since grown, but it was 40mm at the time. So this is a departure from the standard Sea-Dweller format, which is basically the same, but a bit thicker, no cyclops, helium release valve. This is bigger. This is 3mm bigger. It's also quite a lot fatter. Interestingly, in order to give a bit of a nod to the original Sea-Dweller, they've put red writing on the dial. Now, the very first Sea-Dwellers that were ever created had a single line of red writing on the dial. And this has a single line of red writing on the dial to reflect that. The next departure you can probably see here is that this watch has a cyclops. So by the time that these watches were produced, Rolex had developed a glue that would hold these two pieces of glass together at the incredible depths that this watch is designed to go down to. Helium release valve is in place again, and a very well engineered bracelet with a wider clasp than the equivalent Submariner bracelet. So it's very interesting here to see these three watches and to see how the Sea-Dweller has developed and evolved over the years from a watch that's basically the same as the original Sea-Dweller from the very late 1960s, early 70s. This was made well into the 2000s. A more traditional, vintage feeling Sea-Dweller, through to the first of the ceramic Sea-Dwellers, more modern, more up to date, but still maintaining the traditional recipe of a Sea-Dweller compared to its Submariner cousin, right through to the current model, which is a much bigger, more engineered, chunkier thing altogether, and that has departed from the traditional Sea-Dweller format. So there you have it, 3 Sea-Dwellers. At the time of making of this video, these 3 are all in stock at Oakleigh Watches. They are all immaculate, they're fantastic examples. So if you're looking for a later model Sea-Dweller, we have all 3 options here, and you can compare and contrast. Let us know in the comments which one you prefer. Particularly interested to hear any comments about the SD43, and just see what your thoughts are on that as a makeup. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please click the like button, please click subscribe, and we'll bring you more content. Thank you.